Okay, hello again, everyone. This is grade 7, module 5, lesson 2, which is entitled Estimating Probability by Collecting Data. So we just did a summary of the lesson, and this is sample for one of the sample questions. This is like questions 1, 2, 3, and 4. And in this question, they give us they say that a seventh grade student surveyed 25 students at her school. She asked them how many hours a week they spend doing homework, and the results are listed in the table. So the first thing that we really should do to help see these numbers a little bit clearer is to write down the frequency. The frequency is basically how many times it happened. So if you notice, it looks like there's no tally marks in for 0, so no one spent 0 hours. That's good to see. Only one student spent 1 hour. No one spent 2 hours. One student spent 3 hours. One student spent 4 hours. 5 students spent 5 hours. 8 students spent 6 hours. 6 students spent 7 hours. One student spent 8 hours, and 2 students spent 9 hours. Okay. Then they asked us to come up with a dot plot. And a dot plot, the students should be familiar with the dot plot from earlier. In probably around 4th grade, I think, is when they first learn about dot plots. And for dot plots, they're basically going to just take those values, the hours that they had, and that's going to be the x-axis. So they'll type in, we can type in 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And actually, let's spread them out a little bit more. Okay. 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. There we go. Okay. Actually, let's make them a little bit bigger. Okay, let's make this 20. There we go. Okay. So here's the beginning of our dot plot. So we basically just labeled the axes, okay? And we labeled them with these values, but we should also label it explaining what these numbers represent. So these numbers represent the hours of homework, right? Hours of homework. Okay, this is the hours of homework. All right. So now we're basically just going to take dots or circles to represent the amount of times that that these students studied for the homework. So I'm going to fill these in. Let's make these red. It doesn't matter what color you make these dots, it's fine. Okay, and we'll infinitely call it. Let's see. So it looks like there's 2 students who spent 9 hours on homework. So 1, 2. Only one student spent 8 hours. 6 students spent 7 hours. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 students spent 7 hours. 8 students spent 6 hours. So you know what I'll do? I'll copy this. We'll copy, paste this here rather than retyping all those. So that's 6. Then we have 7 and 8. There we go. 5 students spent 5 hours. So we'll paste those again. We'll slide these down over here. All right, let's slide it over a little. There we go, and we'll delete one of these. There we go. That's 5 students spent 5 hours. 1 student spent 4 hours. Okay. 1 student also spent 3 hours. Okay. And 1 student spent 1 hour. Okay. 1 student spent 1 hour. Okay. And we can delete this. We don't need this other dot right there. And if we want to just take a look at what this looks like in total, there we go. All right. So there we have our dot plot with the hours of homework and the dots that represent the amount of students that spent each of their time doing homework. Okay. That's not the only thing the question asks, though. Okay. The questions also ask us about this data here. So the first question, question B, says, what is your estimate for the probability that students spend 7 hours per week on homework? Well, let's see. How many students spend 7 hours per week on homework? It looks like in this case 6 students, right? So we have 6 students out of how many students did they survey? Well, if we read the instructions up here, it says they surveyed 25 students. So 6 out of 25 students. So again, this is based on our experiments. Okay? Question C says, what is your estimate for the probability of that student spending more than 7 hours a week on homework? Well, let's see. We'll erase this. More than 7 hours a week. These guys are the ones that spent more than 7 hours a week. So it looks like there's 3 students, right? So 3 out of 25 students spent more than 7 hours of homework per week. Okay. Question D is a very interesting question. Question D says, if another 25 students were surveyed, do you think you would have the exact same results? Let's kind of go down here a little bit. So if we surveyed another 25 students, do you think we'd have the exact same results? Well, I'll make this a little smaller. I don't know what would happen, but I don't know if they would have the exact same results. So I'm going to say no. We may not have the exact same results. Okay? But, you know, I'm going to add a but the results should be similar. The results may be similar. The results may be similar. Okay? So, no, I don't think we're going to have the exact same results, but I definitely think the results are going to be similar to what we have. Okay? And finally, question E. Here's our proportion question again. This is like the last question that we reviewed from the classwork. So here it says, if there are 600 students at the school, what is your estimate for the number of students who would say they do 5 hours of homework per week? Well, from our survey, we saw that 6 out of 25 students, nope, I'm sorry, my mistake. We saw that 5, right? 5 out of 25 students said they do 5 hours of homework per week, okay? So we saw 5 out of 25 students, okay? This was based on our survey. So this 25 was the total amount of students that we surveyed. And we said that 5 spend 5 hours of homework per week, okay? But the question now says, what if we have 600 students? So what if we survey 600 students? How many do we estimate would have 5 hours of homework per week? Well, again, the students from earlier this year should feel comfortable setting up or solving a proportion rather. So once we have that proportion, we can cross multiply and they have 25x equals 5 times 600 gives us 3,000. We'll divide by 25, divide by 25. These guys cancel out, so we're left with x. Oops. X equals 3,000 divided by 25 gives us 120. So we would estimate that there are about 120 students in that school who spend 5 hours of homework per week. Okay?